Al, as we enter the last episode of October, it's time to talk about something scary.
Spooky. Spooky time.
What's scarier than getting 3 vaccines at once?
Not a whole lot.
Putting you down for the count for a day.
Man, I got wrecked.
It do be like that.
Yeah.
But no, that's not what we're going to talk about today. But we're going to talk about a scary game.
Scary game. We played a scary game this weekend.
We did. Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about this week on the Seasonal Anime Checkup OVA. It's a podcast where we have conversations about video games, anime, manga. Hello, I'm Jared, joined as always by Doc, Ally, and Lady
Hello.
This is episode 409, and we're going to discuss Until Dawn.
Until Dawn.
Scary game.
The original version of it.
Yes, because I did not buy the other version.
Why would you?
It's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money, and you already have it, so we played the original.
Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Spooky.
Scary games. Al had not played through it, and I had it, so I played through it for her, but she did all the choices.
I made all the choices. Jared did all the gameplay.
Yes, that was our dividing
Agreement?
of the roles here, essentially.
You were in charge of QTEs and don't move.
Mm-hmm.
I was in charge of, oh God, I have to make a decision to see if people will live or die.
Yes. Who had the harder choices here? You know, who's to say?
You had the don't move sections, and those seem really hard.
They sucked.
Yeah.
They weren't good.
There were definitely a few times I was just like, I don't know what to pick. Oh God.
Yes, that's true.
But I eventually did make decisions.
You did make a lot of decisions.
We got through the game.
Yes. So yeah, this game originally came out on August 25th of 2015 for the PlayStation 4, and then the remake came out on October 4th, 2024 for the PS5 and PC. We'll get into some of the remake stuff a little bit later on, of course. But yeah, let's talk about the development of this game that was originally going to be a PlayStation Move game.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Because, that's how that works. British developer Supermassive Games served as the game's developer. They, of course, after this would go on to make the Dark Pictures games. They made The Quarry, so, they've kind of made their own little genre of these choose-your-own-adventure horror games, essentially. This is kind of like the catalyst for that.
Mm-hmm.
Its existence was revealed after a trademark for Until Dawn was discovered. The studio began discussing an idea for a new game for the PlayStation 3's PlayStation Move accessory, which had a greater emphasis on narrative than Supermassive's previous games, such as Start the Party. So yeah, basically before they did this, they did a lot of they did some DLC for Little Big Planet. They did some of the Sackboy games, but it was a lot of just doing PlayStation Move stuff, essentially.
That's wild.
The proposed game would be a horror game that resembled a slasher film, and it would be designed for a younger audience that publisher Sony Computer Entertainment had courted with The Move. Supermassive hired American writers Larry Fessenden and Graham Resnick, both of whom had worked on horror movies, to write the game's script. They were hired because the team felt the company's British writers wrote in a I do not know how to pronounce this word.
I don't either. I don't even know that word.
Parochial?
Parochial?
Relating to a church parish, having a limited or narrow outlook or scope. So they had a parochial way that is inappropriate for the horror genre.
Too British.
In 2024, it was revealed that London Studio worked on the title from 2008 to 2010 until Supermassive took over the game's development. The game was initially exclusive to the PlayStation Move, meaning players needed to buy the Move controller to functionally play the game. In this version of the game, the only way to navigate and progress the game is by moving the motion controller. Moving the wand guides the movement of the flashlight held by the characters as players explore the location from a first-person perspective. The wand can also be used to interact with objects and solve puzzles. Essentially, this seems kind of like what they would go on to make with, they made a on-rails VR shooter in this universe, and then they made a prequel VR game.
Oh.
So I guess it's kind of like they would eventually kind of use that sort of stuff later on. Blah, 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 blah. In this version of the game, players can occasionally wield a firearm. An early version of the game also supported 2-player cooperative multiplayer with the studio targeting young couples in their 20s. Sure.
Okay, sure.
A segment of the game shown at Gamescom 2012 received positive comments from the gaming community, but one of the most common complaints received was the game's status as a Move exclusive. Most people did not want to purchase a controller for the game. At that time, the game had reached the alpha development stage. Biles experiment with the game's debug camera and realized the potential of changing perspective to third person. This would change the game from a first-person adventure game to a more cinematic experience. The game also switched platforms from the PlayStation 3 to the PlayStation 4 and expanded the game's scope to include more mature content, targeting an older demographic. I guess 2012 would be like, you're very much out of like the Wii being a huge thing. Like that's like 7 years after the fact. And I don't think really people would have been like champing at the bit to play a PlayStation Move exclusive game at that point.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. Most characters were also recast. Brett Dalton, one of the actors retained from the PlayStation 3 version, said he believed that the recasting was performed to hire better-known actors.
Which there are some pretty big names.
It's true.
One of them in particular got way big.
Yes. With these changes, the team partnered with Cubic Motion and 3Lateral to motion capture the actors' performances. The team also changed the game's graphics. They used the Decima engine created by Guerrilla Games and had to rework the lighting system. The team also extensively used particle effects and volumetric lighting to light up the game's environments. Despite the third-person perspective, the game adapted a static camera angle in a way similar to early Resident Evil games. The approach was initially resisted by the development team because the designers considered the camera archaic. I mean, not wrong.
Didn't I even mention while we were playing it that it reminded me of Resident Evil?
Yes, you did.
Okay, I thought so.
Biles and the game's production designer Lee Robinson, however, drew storyboards to ensure each camera angle had narrative motivations and prove their placements were not random. Initially, quality assurance testers were frustrated with the camera angle. Supermassive resolved this complaint by ensuring drastic camera transitions would not occur at thresholds like doors, but the team had to remove some scenes to satisfy the design philosophy. Here's some stuff about the gameplay and story. Supermassive had to overhaul the gameplay completely after the Move exclusivity requirement was dropped because the core gameplay mechanic of pointing flashlights to different directions failed to be engaging without motion control. Inspired by games like Quantic Dream's Heavy Rain, the team turned Until Dawn into an interactive movie. To increase the player's agency, the team envisioned a system named the Butterfly Effect. Every choice the player makes in the game helps shape the story and ultimately leads to different endings. Biles stated that all of the characters can live or all of whom can die in any order in any number of ways, and that this leads to many ways for scenes to unfold. He further added that no two players would get the same experience because certain scenes would be locked away should the player make a different choice. I mean, that's not true.
Yeah, it's not true. There's only so many choices.
Yeah, Biles said this would encourage players to replay the game to discover more about the story. Supermassive developed a software to enable the team to keep track of the story they intended to tell. Due to the branching nature of the game, every time the team wanted to change details in the narrative, the writers needed to examine the possible impacts the change would have on subsequent events. The team avoided substantial rewrites and instead focused on adjusting the game's pacing and direction once the motion capture and shooting process had begun. According to Biles, a subplot that was removed during development involved one of the female characters being pregnant, which got cut for proving too distracting from the main storyline. Yeah, that makes sense.
Whoa. Yeah, that'd be wild.
The game's strict autosave system was designed to be imperative instead of punitive. Biles said even though a character had died, the story would not end until it reached the ending, and that some characters may not have died despite their deaths being hinted at. Some plot points were designed to be indirect and vague so the narrative would gradually unfold. Biles recognized that the design choice is risky and that it may disappoint mainstream players, but he felt it enhanced the game's horror elements. The game's pacing was inspired by that of Resident Evil and Silent Hill, in which there were quiet moments with no enemy encounters that helped enhance the game's tension. Tom Heaton, the game's designer, said an unsuccessful QTE trial or one incorrect choice would not lead directly to a character's death, though it would send the characters to harder, more treacherous paths. Biles described the game as glib and cheesy. It's very British. It said the story and atmosphere were similar to a typical teen horror movie.
Isn't that the point?
Yes, exactly. The film was inspired by a number of classic movies. The developers observed horror tropes and cliches that can be subverted in the game. These films included Psycho, The Haunting, The Exorcist, Halloween, Poltergeist, Evil Dead 2, and The Conjuring. Fessenden and Resnick wrote a script of nearly 10,000 pages. The playable characters were set up as typical horror movie archetypes, but as the narrative unfolded, these characters would show more nuanced qualities. The writers felt that unlike films, games can use quieter moments for characters to express their inner feelings. With the game's emphasis on players' choices, players can no longer laugh at the characters' decisions because they make these decisions themselves. I mean, I can still laugh at them.
You can still laugh at them, yeah.
It enables the players to relate with the characters and make each death more devastating. The dialogue was reduced significantly when the team began to use the motion capture technology, which facilitates storytelling through acting. The story was written in a non-linear fashion. Chapter 8 was the first to be completed. Then this ended up causing some inconsistencies in the story.
Oops.
And the development team wanted to invoke fear in the player and ensure the game had the appropriate proportion of terror, horror, and disgust. Supermassive made most use of terror, which BIOS defined as the dread of an unseen threat. To ensure the game was scary enough, the team used a galvanic skin response test to measure playtesters' fear levels while they were playing the game. BIOS described Until Dawn as a game that took horror back to the roots of horror. Unlike many of its competitors, tension rather than action was emphasized.
Oh my god.
They sure So yeah. The original version of this game got a 79 out of 100 on the Metacritic. If you're wondering about that. Let's see here. It was the second best-selling retail game in the UK of its week of release. And it was the 7th best-selling game in the US and the top trending game on YouTube in August of 2015.
Oh, snap.
But let's talk about that remake they made, of course.
Uh-huh.
This was announced in January of 2024. It was developed by Ballistic Moon, whose founders previously worked at Supermassive and contributed to the development of the original game. Powered by the Unreal Engine 5, so they changed the engine completely. The remake includes various graphical improvements and new musical scores composed by Mark Corvin and introduces a new third-person over-the-shoulder game camera and a new type of totems named Hunger Totems.
I don't know about the graphical improvements, but that's a story.
While the story remained largely the same, the remake also adds new interactions between characters, an extended prologue, and new endings. It also remixes the locations of the totems in the original game. The Don't Move gameplay mechanic, which originally required players to keep their PlayStation controller as still as possible to influence the outcome of specific scenarios, was reworked for non-PlayStation platforms, which is the PC.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yep.
In addition, a new mechanic, Stay Calm, was introduced for third-party peripherals that lack gyroscope functionality, ensuring players can still experience similar gameplay tension without the need for motion controls.
I wonder what that's like.
Yeah, I don't know.
What does the Stay Calm look like?
This remake got a 71 out of 100 on the Metacritic. It's been very much people are not too happy with some of the way the characters look in this remake. There's some frame rate issues. It just looks a little bit different than the original. Also, it was like a full price game. There was no upgrade path if you had the original.
Yeah, that's messy.
So
also from what I have seen, like I think the lighting just looks wrong.
Yeah.
Like everything has kind of a blue tint in the original, which is intentional because it's supposed to be dark and night, and like that's how horror movies used to do it, was they would do like blue tints.
Yeah.
But that's gone now, and it's like more natural lighting, I guess, which is like, ugh. Why would you do that? Like, the whole idea is for it to mimic a horror film. You took the style out. But also, this says that there's a film coming out?
Yes, there is.
Why?
You know.
This is a film.
Also, it's a film. So they're making a film of this game. It's an adaptation, obviously. But none of the people... I guess Peter Stormare's in it. He's the only one who is coming over from the game into the film. Everyone else is recast.
Oh.
Which seems very weird.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Well then.
Seems like it's a bizarre decision for sure. And that's going to come out next year, so.
Well, I guess like at this point, Hayden Panettiere and Rami Malek, they're too old to be like teen movie stars.
Yeah, and also probably it's too expensive.
That too, yeah.
But yeah, like that makes sense, but also it's weird considering you put real people in these roles and then you're just gonna recast all of them.
Yeah, no, that's very weird.
Yeah, that remake didn't do as well, obviously. It was not as well. It didn't sell as well. It was the 14th best-selling game in the UK of its week of release. And at launch, the game had a peak concurrent player count on Steam of 2,607. It's not a lot of people.
I'll say, is that bad or good?
That's not good.
Okay, not good.
It's apparently the slowest selling game by Sony on the PC alongside Concord, But you know how that went in Sackboy.
Oh. Uh-oh.
So there's all that. But yeah.
Uh-oh.
Until Dawn. It's a video game.
Mm-hmm.
I let Al do all the choices. I was expecting us to kill a few people for sure.
Uh-huh.
Because that's just, I feel like, your first time playing through, it's hard not to kill people. And then Al's like, what if I just don't kill anyone? What if I'm just good at these choices?
I didn't expect that.
Mm-hmm.
I fully expected people to die. Because, like you said, it's really, really hard to play through these and, like, have everybody live the first time.
Yeah. I mean, we've experienced that with our forays into the various Dark Pictures games where we've not, like, gone through those games and had everyone come out alive.
Oh, we got to the very end and in Little Hope and lost a person. I was so mad. I fully expected us to lose somebody.
Yeah.
But somehow we didn't. You didn't mess up any of the QTEs, and I didn't mess up
There was a couple that was close.
Yeah, that's true. The don't move ones seem really
unfair.
Bonkers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not.
I like
it's
that
not
at
a
the
good
end.
system.
You're just like, I'm just gonna set this down.
It worked.
It did work. That's what matters.
I did the thing.
But you mentioned, like, Jessica seems to be really hard to keep alive.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of surprised that like, I was taking some of the safer choices trying to get to her at the beginning and she still didn't die. So I don't know what happened there.
I think because we didn't mess up any QTEs.
Oh, that makes sense.
So we didn't necessarily waste any time, but we just took a little bit longer. But yeah, we made her live, and I was very surprised. I was like, oh, she's dead. She's gone.
Yeah, she's gone. So you knew she was going to come back, though, in some way, right?
No.
Oh, you've never seen her come back?
No, because, like, when I played through it, she died.
Oh. Oh my God, imagine dying in your undie pants in the snow.
It's not a good way to go.
Was she in her undie pants when you played?
I think that's just, like, she'll be like that regardless.
Oh, okay. Well, she somehow lived.
She somehow lived.
Good for her.
We did all the right choices.
Worse
we hit
for
all the
wear,
right buttons.
but
Yes, she goes through it.
she goes through it. She's gonna need so much therapy and probably, like, a long time in a hospital. She probably broke several bones.
Mm-hmm.
She's struggling. Okay, so I didn't realize that that you had not seen Jessica live.
No.
Wow. Who else died on your playthroughs? Just
so
Jessica?
it was her. I think Matt died, and then Sam died at the end because I failed one of the
Don't
moves.
How did Matt die?
I think because, like, it's at that part where you have to save Emily.
Mm-hmm.
And if you I think if you don't do the self-preservation version, he just, like, he'll fall from the thingy, the tower that's falling.
Oh, okay.
Essentially, I
So-
think that's how it went.
We saw some of the, like, totems that were saying, like, hey, here are things that could happen.
Yeah.
And I saw a thing that indicated to me, like, Matt needs to be the self-preservation guy. Like, no matter what, he's just got to take care of himself. That's how he lives.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know if that was true or not, but that's what I got from the totem, and so that's what I followed. So he ended up being, like, a total and, like, abandoning his girlfriend.
Yeah.
While she was dangling from a tower. But I was like, self-preservation, he's got to live. Let's go.
Well, see
And
you
he
later.
did. I just left her.
I mean, she survived. It was fine.
No, she did survive, and even at the end, she's like, "Hey, how's Matt? Is he doing okay?" And it's like she was so terrible to him this whole game, so it didn't even matter. But, like, she wasn't even mad that he just left her dangling. I clung in my brain to, okay, that one totem said self-preservation. Matt's key thing is self-preservation now.
I mean, you weren't wrong.
Think for yourself, Matt. Only for yourself. Only care about your own well-being. And I mean, like, she was hugging on her ex-boyfriend and everything too. So I'm like, yucky,
Yucky.
yucky. Justice for Matt. Although they did give you that weird QTE where you could just like bonk a deer in the head for no reason. Like, why would you do that?
I want to punch a deer, of course.
Why would you punch the deer?
Take that
Like I
deer.
said, I think I think the reasoning behind that is just like, they pop those up that you can do things, but you're not supposed to do things. And I think that
Yeah.
was one of them.
You're in the moment. You're all scared.
You're,
and you're
you're
like,
high anxiety.
Yeah, you're just like,
Bang.
gonna do whatever you can at the first option, and maybe that's not the right idea.
Right.
Maybe you don't punch the deer.
I mean, that's the right decision. I'm not punch the deer. They're just letting us go. It's all good. But yeah, I kept having you like pause and look at their character traits, and I kept trying to like stick to certain things that I saw with the totems to like, okay, you gotta survive. That's how we're gonna do it. And so that's how I made all my choices.
Yeah.
And it worked. Yay.
We somehow did it, yeah.
Yeah, it was high tension. I'm surprised everybody lived.
I'm very surprised. Because like I said, I was not expecting us to go in and like get everyone safe, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean, there's no real saving Josh, I don't think.
Unless you play the new one.
Well, yeah,
the remake.
We didn't play that.
Nope.
But we didn't save him. I mean, I guess we did. We got as good of an ending for him as you can in the original version.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he didn't get killed or anything. I mean, he probably did afterwards, but whoops. But yeah, everybody lived except for that one guy with a flamethrower. He didn't live.
He did not live, no.
And I thought that I f***ed up at the beginning when those two sisters died.
Nope.
I made the wrong choice, I felt like, and I was like, oh no, they're dead. Oh no, that's just required. And eventually I realized, like, and I even said to you, I think that was supposed to happen. I don't think that I made the wrong choice.
I think both of those choices result in the same thing happening.
Okay.
Essentially.
Okay, that makes sense. I was so upset at first. I was like, oh no.
So I don't think it's anything like you could do differently. It's just like, that's just the way the cookie crumbles.
That's fair. I mean, it wouldn't make sense otherwise because you need that to happen for the plot to work.
Yeah. That is true. What did you think of the characters? Because obviously we spent a lot of time with the core group of characters that we get to play as.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of all these youngsters?
The youngsters?
The youths.
The youth. I mean, some of them were kind of like cardboardy.
Mm-hmm.
Like Sam didn't really have much to work with. Like I'm the main girl and I rock climb.
I'm a famous person. That's kind of it.
Yeah, I was like, okay. Oh, who is the dude that had a thing with Ashley?
Chris.
That guy. I don't like that
monked.
guy. Get monked. I don't like that guy.
What do
He
you
did that, and I
mean?
was immediately like, "You're on my list, son."
You just got monked.
I got monked. So like every choice where it was like between Ashley and Chris, I was like, Chris, go for Chris. But somehow he still lived.
He was fine.
He somehow lived, even though I was out to get him. Good for him, I guess. I liked Ashley. I think there was some interesting stuff going on there with like her guilt for like being a big part of the whole like prank that went down.
Yeah.
So she had some interesting stuff to work with. Emily was just kind of a jerk the whole time.
Yeah.
Like I remember telling you a few times, like, can she say anything nice at all?
She's basically just the quote unquote token character, essentially.
Yeah, basically. And then Matt was there.
Yeah.
Barely.
He got to hang out a little bit and then was gone for most of the game and then comes back and is like, oh, hey, what's up? I'm also here.
Yeah. Um, we hung out most with Mike, I feel like.
Yeah, that's kind of, yeah, not wrong. He's kind of the one you kind of play as the most and like
Yeah.
oddly probably has the most character.
Yeah.
Because obviously he's like the douchey jock guy. You know, he's got
Yes.
various relations with two of these gals here. You know, he knows everyone, all that sort of stuff. He's, you know, a catalyst of the events that happened the previous year. But like that dude goes through the ringer.
Mm-hmm.
Got a lot of
Makes
stuff
friends
going
with a
on.
wolf.
Makes friends with a wolf.
But like he actually has character development, whereas a
Yeah.
lot of these people don't have as much character development.
He's the most like gung ho about like trying to get everyone out of there and like fighting back against everything that's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. So I ended up actually liking Mike by the
Yeah.
end. I didn't like him to begin with because I was like, man, this guy sucks. But
Yeah.
yeah, after he went through it, I'm like, okay, you're all right, dude. You're all right. And then we just didn't really have a whole lot of time with Jessica.
Yeah, she's there for
It
like
was
the
like,
beginning of the game, and then like depending on if she lives or dies, she's either obviously gone for the rest of the game, or she's gone for the rest of the game until the very end.
the very end, and then she gets like 5 minutes with Matt, and that's about
Yeah,
it.
Matt Finder's like, yo, what the hell are you doing down here? What's going on? We gotta get you out of here.
Like Matt and Jessica aren't even in the house at the end.
No, they just like somehow get out of like the mines at some point, and then just like eventually just meet up with everyone, I guess.
Yeah.
But hey, like
Yeah.
you know, she had been through the ringer. She needed a
She needed a break, man. She was
she was messed
struggling.
up.
Yeah, she was real messed up. And like I was happy when I got to like snowball Mike with her. That was
Yeah.
fun. Um,
You could also
but
snowball
like
an animal if you needed to,
you can. We didn't do that, but
or just shoot
um her,
one.
basically her entire character was like, I don't like Emily. I do like Mike. I want to bang Mike.
Yes.
That's it. Until the end where she's like, "Oh my God, I've been through it. I'm so tired.
Meanwhile,
Can I
Mike's
just
like, I want to
steal
go,
this
I want to
man's?"
bang, and then it turns into, I'm gonna shoot and blow things up and save everyone
Woo!
and make friends with a dog.
Yay! I was gonna riot if that dog didn't make it.
We made that dog make it. It was fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, the only person who didn't make it is the flamethrower man. I don't know that he can make it,
I don't
he?
think he can.
Because he saved Chris.
Yeah. Because I think he's just there to like, you know, um, give you the information about the Wendigos,
Mm-hmm.
these supernatural beings that are terrorizing this mountain, and essentially that's kind of just it.
Yeah. And I have neglected to mention, but like Josh's character is actually the most interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because there's that boy ain't okay. As Hank Hill would say, that boy ain't right.
That boy, right?
Um, but like he, has a legitimate reason why some things were gnarly for him, but he made some really, really bad decisions and but he
Yeah.
had some interesting characterization in this game where some of the other characters didn't. So like Mike and Josh ended up being the most interesting to me.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of just like feels how horror stories in general kind of go. If like they have a big kind of eclectic cast like this, it's just like a few of these
Mhm.
characters are going to get good development. The rest of them are kind of just going to be window dressings for stuff to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel about the characters.
Peter Stormare's there as your doctor, and he just likes to
Oh,
look
I
at
didn't
you a
like
lot.
him. I didn't like him. I didn't like him at all. He freaked me out. I want the butt man back.
I think the
Give
Buttman's
me
dead, isn't he?
Is he?
I think the Buttman passed away.
Oh my God, I feel bad about talking about the butt man now.
But you like the Buttman.
I do like the butt man, but like, oh no, is he really dead?
I'm gonna look. I think I remember seeing that or something.
Oh no.
Uh,
I'm so sorry, butt man. If you're really dead, rest in peace.
Maybe I was lying.
Okay. If he's not dead, all right, cool, butt man.
His Wikipedia page says he's alive at least, so
Okay. All right. He's still making it then. Maybe he'll be in the new game.
yeah, maybe I don't know where I would have read that then. I don't know.
Mm.
Unless everything's lying to me, who knows?
I don't even know the man's name.
His name is Pip Torrens. It's a very good name.
It's a really good name. Ah! Um, but yeah, I feel like it's interesting that like so much of this game can probably be missed in terms of like the plot.
Yeah.
So like I feel like we had a pretty good idea of what was going on. If there are any gaps, you can let me know. But like
Yeah, like a lot of the stuff you're gonna like you would find through the collectibles and everything of like the backstory of like the stuff with the miners and the
the
sanatorium
miners,
and all that sort of stuff, and like
right?
how all that stuff kind of came to be on the mountain. But like through us kind of saving everyone and having everyone there, we kind of have like we kind of got like a good understanding of exactly what was going on.
Hmm.
So I don't know if there's like a ton that we really would have missed out on.
Right, but I assume that like if people die that you would miss out on certain parts.
Right.
Like obviously not with Mike because Mike's gonna be there until the end because he's
No, you can have everyone die.
well, I know, but like can Mike die early? Like it feels like he would be a late game
uh,
death if he dies.
I don't know.
Because there's so much plot revolving around Mike.
Yeah.
You cut out like half the game if Mike dies early.
Go for a speed run where you just kill everyone. The game's like an hour long. Should be a
Man,
wild way to go for it. So obviously you've seen this game now. You didn't really play it, but you kind of understand how it plays. I mean, you've played the
I
Dark Pictures games.
experienced it.
Yeah. How do you feel this game was compared to the Dark Pictures games? Because obviously this one comes before those, and like those games have like they've had time to implement and do other things, like add multiplayer, because a lot of people played this game originally just like passing the control around, be like, oh, you can play as this character, we'll switch controllers, or we'll pass the control around for like when the character changes and all that sort of stuff. So that's how a lot of people experience this game, and that's kind of I think one of the reasons they put in multiplayer into the Dark Pictures games.
Hmm.
But yeah, how did you feel this game compared to those games? Without, I mean, obviously there's no
I mean,
Dumpy Man.
there's no Dumpy Man, so that's tragic. And I did not like the Hill. Is that his name?
The
The Doctor
Hill.
Man.
Oh yeah.
I didn't like him. I didn't like him at all. He could go away. He freaked me out. Um, but I do really appreciate being able to like play together. I think that that's fun, but I can see how this was the blueprint for that.
Hmm.
And I had a lot of fun with this one. I thought it was, a fun, good time. Um, it's also just wild to me to see like big name actors in this. Like they got some big people to do this like relatively small game.
Yeah.
Um, so I kind of they do some bigger names in the dark pictures, but I appreciate more that they don't have as many bigger faces because I'm like, oh, that's just Rami Malek.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so it takes you out of it a little bit, I
But
guess,
you
which
didn't
is
like Ashley Tisdale in in Iraq.
that was fine because I hadn't seen her in anything in a long time, but like I don't know. He was he's just quite a bit bigger than basically anybody else they've had.
Yeah, but also this was
Um,
like 10 years ago,
right. So,
and like
he
obviously
wasn't like
before that as well, because like they would have been like doing the mocap stuff and then all that sort of stuff before then. That's like because 2015 is like when he starts doing Mr. Robot. I think that's the catalyst for him
mhm,
really kind of breaking out essentially.
that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was well done and it feels like a natural progression of the series. Or I say series, like I think the other ones are technically like spiritual successors, but
Yeah.
um yeah, I mean, I definitely see the through lines and I think it was fun.
Hmm.
I'm so glad they got rid of the don't move sections. The
Yeah,
heartbeat sections are so much better.
yeah. I just they
'Cause-
don't they do not they're not good.
yeah, I'm too twitchy for that.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it kind of just feels cheap at times because it's like I
Mhm.
feel like I'm doing it perfectly still and it's like
I'm going this way now.
and I'm
Whee!
just like, well, come on, what are we doing here?
And I also appreciate I figured it out and I kept mentioning it to you, but I really liked this one had like two elements of horror going on. Like there was something bigger happening, but then there's also just like a human baddie.
Hmm.
Um, so I really enjoyed being able to like piece together in this like which part belonged to which section.
Yeah.
Like what is the supernatural and what is just a guy being a guy. That was a lot of fun for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're
Uh.
kind of the same games.
Yeah. 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 That is true. So yeah, we got the best ending essentially where everyone
Woohoo!
survives and then they get questioned by the police even though they're all just banged up. It's like you all should like go to the hospital.
Hospital.
Let them get patched up. The remake added two new endings to the game. So we didn't see these obviously, but these are
Hmm.
in the remake. You know, whether or not like what they add to this or not is up to your discretion and whatnot. But one of them has Josh surviving essentially through the end because in the ending we get he becomes a Wendigo. Chomp 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 chomp.
Chom 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 chom.
Um. So yeah, in this one of the new ones he survives, and then basically hears the doctor's voice tell him he hopes he gets redemption and everything. And then there's another one that's set years afterwards where Sam is in Los Angeles and a stranger's voice comes to the door. Ooh. And
Ooh,
people are thinking that this is a teaser if they're going to make a sequel, which, like, I mean,
how?
sure, but I don't know.
Like who would be the stranger? What would the sequel be?
The Dumpy Man.
Oh, yes. Hayden Panettiere and the Dumpy Man have to team up. That's the way. I still don't understand why Josh decided to eat that man's head so quickly.
He was hungry.
He wasn't down there that long. I don't think.
Nom, 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 nom. I mean, I guess we don't know, like, how long he would have been down
It
there.
took for them to actually find him.
Yeah, especially.
Yeah, I guess that's fair, but like just doing a little chomp.
A little chomp.
Nom 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 nom.
Nom, nom, nom,
The
nom,
only
nom.
time that I like really had to look away at this game,
The
the
split.
bisecting
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
section.
That part's
Yep.
gnarly.
Yeah, that's the only
Even
time I
knowing
had to look
exactly
and
like what it is,
oof.
like how it's set up and everything, very gnarly.
Okay, well I didn't know how it was set
No,
up
no, no,
and
yeah, but like even like if you when you think about it like after the fact.
yeah, yeah. And they did show it a couple times. I was like, I'm just gonna look away now.
That's fair.
I don't think I need to see that. And you
I'm
had
good.
some little wiggly intestines hanging around afterwards.
Wiggle, 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 wiggle.
Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. So I didn't love that, but I don't know, like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know that I had as many like really scared moments in this.
I mean, there's a lot of jump scares essentially.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to remember like how bad it was for me compared to some other things that we've played.
But I wonder as well if it's the fact that like you weren't in control.
Oh,
You were
maybe,
just a passenger along the way, essentially.
maybe.
Because the other games you were in control, and that's when you're just like, oh, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
yeah, ha, ha, ha.
This time we were technically both in control, but I didn't have controller control, so
Right. So like you weren't,
I had to do the intellectual sections.
yeah, and you weren't like as deep into the game as like I was essentially.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that that's how they get you with a lot of the jump scares is by having you like
be in
locked
control.
in.
Yeah.
And then when you're locked in, they're like, "Wah,
Whoa.
wah."
That's how they get you.
Oh, I was trying to see what kind of natives this is tied to.
Ooh.
Algonquin. So where the hell is this mountain?
It's in Canada.
Canada.
Yeah,
Right, they're
the game
they're
the game takes place in
Canadian.
Canada.
Okay, that tracks. That makes sense. Okay. I
Eh?
forgot I forgot it's Canadian.
Yeah.
Why wasn't everybody polite?
Not all Canadians are polite, I guess. That's the
The
real
only
horror.
the real or non polite Canadians. That wolf
Ah.
though. The wolf was polite.
Wolf is the MVP.
Yeah, that's a true Canadian right there.
The other wolf was kind of mean, but the one we got to hang out with was very nice.
That was
Chill.
a nice one.
It was just like, hey, what's up? I got you, dude.
I got you. I got you.
I'll
And
help
it's
you
like,
out.
hey man, why'd you take so long? I've been waiting for you.
Come on, who man?
Who man? I'm trying to help you, who man.
Who man?
Oh, I did hurt Mike's fingers though.
You didn't chop him off though.
I didn't. Okay, so it didn't work the first time, which I guess is scripted. Um, but then like we broke the machete trying to fix it. So at that point, I was just like, you know what? I'm dedicated to the cause. Like we're gonna get these fingers out because we already have a broken machete. We can't use it again. So like, let's just keep going.
Yeah, might as well.
Yeah, like I don't want to have no fingers and also a broken machete. This is the worst of it. Like,
But what if
both
you
worlds.
just like you got your fingers trapped in there and just like, all right, it,
Yep.
cut them off, and then you'd have a no fingers and a machete though.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's like a valid choice that people made.
But he had full
But
use of
also,
his
like,
fingies,
he had his fingies.
which is nice.
I mean, they probably hurt like a but,
Oh yeah, of course.
and you know, maybe has to splint them or something when he gets back, but wouldn't be the only injury they have to nurse when they get back.
That's for true.
Yeah, I had already locked in. I was like, all right, we're freeing those fingies.
Yep. Read those fingies.
I did. Trying to think if there's anything else that's worth mentioning. I got monked.
You got monked.
Mm.
You just got monked.
I did.
So yeah. Eventually we will have to play through The Quarry, which is the other game they made. And then whenever the next Dark Pictures game comes out.
Yes.
Which I think tentatively is next year, presumably, but I don't know if that's set in stone yet or anything. But yeah, we'll eventually dive into that as well.
Mm-hmm.
See what's going on with space horror.
Ooh.
Ooh, spooky.
And I have the Quarry. We just haven't played it yet.
Yeah. But yeah, that's going to do it for us this week. So if you'd like more from us, head on over to seasonalanimeCheckup.com or sec.cool where you can find past episodes of this podcast and other podcasts like Jared Now Watch. You can also find columns and reviews on the site as well. If you'd like more from Anladium, go to anladium.com. She's got columns and reviews. Follow us on Twitter and TikTok at Anime Checkup. Follow us on Blue Sky at seasonalanimecheckup.com. You can buy our books, One Shiny Moment, a critical analysis of Love, Life, Sunshine, Hot Tubs, and Pac-Man on Amazon.com. And get support us on Patreon, patreon.com/SACOVA. Buy us a slice of pizza, get access to unedited versions of the podcast early, wealth of bonus content we have up there, our monthly exclusive Patreon podcast, which should have a new episode up either this weekend or very shortly soon after, because, you know, the end of the month is coming up, but we'll have an episode out soon for that. So yeah, next week we begin November.
Yes.
And we'll talk about something. We got some stuff we could talk about. Probably have something we'll play here shortly that we could talk about. And we'll just figure it out. Who knows?
Yes. And in the meantime, don't eat your friends.
Don't eat your friends. Bad.
Bad.